Good evening, good night, everyone doing tonight. God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma J, of Spirit Divine. I'm here to give you a word on tonight. And about the fall of Jericho. The wall came down. They possessing their land, and you got to fight. For what God gives to you. You got to fight. They gonna have to fight when they enter the land, because they got to take everyone out. So Joshua 6:1 through 27. So now the gate of Jericho was secretly barred because of the Israelite. Now no one went out and no one went in. You remember them gates was big, and so that's why the Israelites, the first one, they even won't go through. Now you know I put out yesterday about possessing their land. Now they about to really possess their land and go through the gate. So the gate of Jericho was tightly shut because of the people was afraid of the Israelites. Now the Israelites was afraid of them. Remember, they ain't even want to enter the land. But all the while, they is afraid of the Israelites. No one was allowed to go in or out. So then the Lord had said to Joshua, see, I had delivered Jericho into your hands along with its king and its fighting men. Because God going to always go ahead of us. So the Israelite army is not to be led by soldiers, but by the art of God present in seven priests. So they have to march around the city once with all the army men and do this for 6 days. So the Israelite conquered Jericho wall to enter the promised land. The Lord instructed to Joshua. Now here, seven priests carry the trumpet of the ram horns in front of the ark, of the seventh day. Now march around 7 times, 7 times with the priest blowing the trumpet. Now these their instruction. The Israelite was directed to follow the law, to indicate that the ark was a symbol of God's power and presence. And dedicate that the priest was to use the trumpet, and made a ram to hold. So when you hear them sound a long blast on a trumpet, have the whole army give a loud shout, and then the wall of the city will collapse, and the army will go up, and everyone would march in. So God was making it clear, that the battle was depend upon them, not Israel. So God was letting them know, He letting them know He want this victory to be upon Him, not the Israel weapon. But to be blown on their battle, remind them that their victory come from the Lord. See, God letting them know the victory come from Him, not them. He don't want them to take credit for, because they can't tear that wall down. That's God's power gonna tear that wall down. So they march around as they were directed, but Joshua had commanded the army, do not give a war cry. Do not raise your voice. Do not say a word until the day I tell you to shout. Then shout. Now he giving them strictly instruction. Now they gotta walk around and they got to be silent, because they don't want to let the people know that they're out there. So they got to be silent until on the seventh day. And when Joshua tell them to shout, then they're gonna be able to shout. Now Joshua's command is intended to prevent the Israelites from exposing themselves to Jericho residents' contempt. If they shout and nothing happened, they had to march around silent. So on the seventh day, they got up on daybreak, and march around the city 7 times in the same manner. Now, except that on the day they circled the city 7 times. So the seventh time around, the priest had sounded the trumpet blast. Joshua commanded the army to shout. Now, for the Lord had given you the city, faith and obedience and the power of God, the Lord given to them. So the city and all that is in it, are to devote it to God. Because there was seven other gods, and they had silver and gold and all that. So God, they're gonna destroy that city, and before even Israel get in there, and God gonna tell them, don't pick up these silvers and golds. Only Rehab and all who in her household should spare, because she hid them, the spies. Remember, the spies went out, she hid them, she took care of them. So everything should devoted to God. Only Rehab, her family should live. Now she is all with her in the house. Now because she hid the spies, their land was destroyed, silver and gold. Now God Israelites to not carry none before they have destruction. So when the trumpet sounded, the army shouted, and at the sound of the trumpet, when the men give a loud shout, the wall collapsed. So everyone would have charged in, and they took the city. Now they had to go around seven times, and shout. And when they did that last shout, now they shout and bring that wall down. That was God's power that brought that wall down. Now the Israelite victory at Jericho wall came down. Now they have to go in and fight for their promised land. They had faith and they followed God's command. And a wall started coming down. It was God's power. God gonna give you something, but then you got to fight for it. Look how long I'm still fighting. Because the devil don't want to give up. So you got to constantly fight for what belongs to you. And I guess God eventually, the devil gonna have to give up. When the devil see you ain't giving up, eventually the devil got to give up. So they had to when they go in, they have to fight, because they got to drive everybody out that land. Now this the victory cry. The victory cry. The Israelite had to wait 40 years to shout. They had to wait 40 years, go around the city, 7 times, a victory cry. So now they at the goal for 6 days. Now they had to follow God's command and had more silence around Jericho. And only the sound of trumpet blow by the priest. Now it was the 7th day. Imagine the suspense, where God himself appears to tear down the wall. Now God had give a go-ahead sound to trumpet. He had shout, and God had give the go and shout victory. And the wall, of the city wall collapsed. And that was a thick wall. Now just as God had promised, the trumpet sounded and the army shouted, and finally, climbing down the rightful place in the promised land. Now the Israelites must have felt so relieved to claim the victory after so many years of waiting. And that's how I'm going to be. I can't even really enjoy and dance or none of that. I can't see it until I believe it. And when you do have that day of your victory, it's going to be a big relief, like a big relief to lift off your shoulder. Now the Israelites had feel like they was never made it to their promised land. And that's how I feel. When you're in a storm a long period of time, it's going to feel like you're never going to get there. But we trust God that we will get there. Now sometimes you wait a long time thinking the process will eventually, end up in victory. In the meantime, remain faithful and know that God is there, with us, preparing us for the battle, the goal, the victory to come. The long battle take a lot of patience. And that's what I'm going through. Patient with faith and trusting God. Now you have to believe that you will have victory. So the Lord was with Joshua. Now you remember Joshua was first in training when Moses died. God said, I'm going to be with you just like I was with Moses. I'm going to be with you wherever you go. Everything you touch, you're going to win. So in his fame spread without the land. Now finally they entered the promised land. You know, they had to fight and drive everybody out. Now with God power, that big tall wall came tumbling down. So in Israel, they finally possessed their land. And not only possess their land, they have to fight to get it, because they had to drive everybody out, you know. And the devil don't want to let go with me. I'm still in my storm, still trying to fight my way through, So that's all I have. They run around for 40 years. This is the third generation. They run around for 40 years and finally possess their land with milk and honey. God gonna remodel their land. They gotta put all that stuff out first before the Israelite come in, and God will remodel that earth. Their land. Oh, and that's all I have for you today. Y'all have a blessed day. And if you're still in the storm like I am, just keep the faith. Just keep knowing, trusting that God will do it someday. We don't know when, we don't know how, but you just have to believe. Remember, I put Abraham out the other day. He told him to sacrifice his son. He ain't asked no question. He just believed and trust God. He said God was going to provide. And sure enough, God did provide. So we don't know how. He didn't know how God was going to provide, but he knew God wasn't going to let him sacrifice his child. And that's the same in our storm. We have to have an unknown faith. Unknown faith, knowing that we don't know how it's going to happen. And the hard part about the storm is the waiting part. The waiting part. The Israelite, they went through something. 40 years they had to run around. All the while they could see the land, but God just had them running around for 40 years from being disobedient. So that's all I have for you today. And also, I'm going to have Bible study soon. You can schedule a Bible study. I'm going to have that once a week. A spiritual healer. And you also can book a reading, predict the future. And missing the divine, anybody you need to locate. You send the picture and their name on my TikTok account. So that's all I have for you tonight. I see you and have a blessed day.